The man was reborn a month before the apocalypse, yet he sold stocks worth $3 billion for a mere $1 billion. He hoarded 1 billion tons of supplies directly, all because in 27 days, a global apocalyptic crisis will break out. 80% of humanity will turn into zombies. Of the remaining humans, 90% will die at the hands of zombies, and the small remaining portion of humans will begin to evolve and develop special abilities. Some have physical abilities, some elemental, and some are mental. Yet, the ability the man possesses is the incredibly rare spatial power. In his past life, he was known as the Void King. Ever since he mastered the Void Walk, an ability that was top tier for both combat and survival, he thrived in the apocalypse like a fish in water. Regrettably, as he continued to survive, all other survivors died out. The world was left with nothing but increasingly bizarre monsters. He couldn't find another human anywhere. Unable to bear the loneliness, he dug a hole and buried himself alive. But when he woke up, Qianluo was reborn 27 days before the apocalypse. Moreover, the special space he had opened in his previous life still existed, and now his special space has the ability to stop time and preserve food. As for other missing powers, Qianluo didn't care at all. For him now, only good food in this world was invaluable. He needs to hoard quickly. First, he hoarded a ton of pork, 100 buckets of fried chicken, and 100 servings of roasted duck, along with other various supplies. After storing all the supplies in his space, Qianluo received a call from his uncle, asking him to come to the corporation, as there was something to discuss. When he arrived at the company and faced his uncle's reprimand, Qianluo showed respect to his elder on the surface. Deep inside, a huge murderous intent was rising, if it weren't for the fact that in his previous life, after the apocalypse began, he heard from his uncle's son, Qin Fei, that 6 years ago, it was his uncle who had plotted the car accident that killed his parents, and then gradually took over the shares of the corporation his parents left for him. I have a premonition that pork prices will surge again. The pork I hoarded for 1 billion could rise to 5 billion. Upon hearing Qianluo's words, Qin Jianan's mouth dropped in shock. Isn't this purely nonsense? How can he even dream of such things? After his shock, Qin Jianan laughed. Little Luo, what about selling it to me for 1.5 billion? Qianluo scratched his head, showing embarrassment. I've already sold the shares, and the contract has been signed. It's impossible to buy them back from that young master now. As he finished speaking, Qianluo's phone rang. He turned to Qin Jianan with an apologetic look and walked outside. Watching Qianluo's retreating figure, Qin Jianan's face darkened. This little punk dares to pull such a stunt without telling me. He needs to be taught a lesson. Outside, as Qianluo answered the phone, a woman's voice came through. Mr. Chen, the dog you asked us to find, the one with black fur and missing an ear, we've got a lead on it. I've sent you a picture. Please confirm if it's the one you lost. Upon hearing this, Qianluo's breathing became hurried. In the last life's apocalypse, a ranking was made for those with different abilities. Qianluo was naturally ranked first for spatial powers. The top in fire abilities was called the Spirit Flame Princess, also known as the Blood Rose. The top in lightning abilities was a dog named Thunder King. While some humans turned into zombies, others evolved and gained special abilities. The same happened to animals and plants. If they didn't turn into zombies, they had a chance to gain abilities. Despite being just a dog, in an apocalypse with no food, many saw him as a source of fresh meat. However, all who tried were defeated without exception. Only Qianluo, with his spatial powers, managed to ambush this dog. The black dog in the picture was unmistakably Thunder King. The missing left ear was undeniable proof. Qianluo couldn't help but laugh. Thunder King, in this life, we won't be short of food. How about we team up? I promise to treat you well, ensuring you always have the best to eat and drink. Wait for me, I'll rescue you. I hope you'll recognize me as your master. After putting away his phone, Qianluo couldn't wait to go and rescue Thunder King. Uncle, I'm leaving now. Qin Jianan didn't stop him. Squinting his eyes, he watched Qianluo hurriedly leave. The Chen Corporation no longer had anything to do with Qianluo. After leaving Qin Jianan's office, Qianluo threw a glance back at him. Even though in my last life, Qin Jianan and his son were lucky enough to survive after the apocalypse, they won't have that chance this time. They'll die on the day of the apocalypse. Mark my words. Upon leaving the office, Qianluo followed the information provided by the private detective and arrived at a dog shop. At the entrance, a large iron cage housed 3 dogs, one of which was Thunder King. Qianluo looked at Thunder King's current pitiful state, which bore no resemblance to the dominating figure he was after the apocalypse. Thunder King, feeling Qianluo's gaze, lifted its head and shuddered, cowering further inside the cage. With a degree of intelligence, it seemed to know the intentions of people who stared at it in such establishments. Qianluo's face changed as he exclaimed, "Where's your boss? Call him out. You've dared to steal my dog." If I hadn't found out in time, I would have lost my Thunder King. The shop owner was momentarily stunned, but soon realized this man was here to cause trouble. Remembering that these were all stray dogs he'd acquired, he quickly waved his hands, trying to explain, "Bro, all the dogs I have are from legitimate sources. They all look similar. You might be mistaken." Qianluo sneered, taking out his phone, ready to report the dog shop for theft. After all, no business can withstand thorough scrutiny. Seeing Qianluo Luo's intention to call the police. The owner immediately panicked and tried to snatch the phone away. But Chen Luo, with a decade of combat experience from the apocalypse, effortlessly subdued him. "Do you really think you can overpower me?" Chen Luo taunted. Facing Chen Luo's threats, the owner quickly pleaded, "It's a genuine misunderstanding, sir. I truly didn't know this dog was yours. I'll settle scores with the one who brought the dog later. You can take your dog today, free of charge. Is that acceptable?" Chen Luo's expression softened slightly. "Considering your attitude, I'll let it go this time. Even though I'm willing to spend all I have for Thunder King, getting something for free is always the best. Little Black, come with me, let's go home." Thunder King looked a bit confused. "Little Black? Who are you calling?" But sensing that Chen Luo had rescued it, it obediently followed. Chen Luo was pleased. Looks like it understands human speech now. He opened the car door for Thunder King, who without hesitation jumped in. As Chen Luo drove home, he thought it was a good opportunity to bond with Thunder King. An hour later, upon arriving at his luxurious mansion, Chen Luo saw a burly, somewhat dim-looking guard in the security booth at the entrance. Chen Luo's heart ached at the sight. The man was named Su Daju, with thick brows and a simple, honest face. He looked slightly foolish due to his innocent demeanor. Su Daju was Chen Luo's close friend after the apocalypse. He was a physical ability user, impervious to weapons, with a body as strong as steel. In their previous life, before Chen Luo mastered the void walking, they were ambushed due to scarce resources. Su Daju used his physical abilities to cover for Chen Luo, even sacrificing himself so Chen Luo could escape. Although Chen Luo avenged him afterward, Su Daju was gone forever. "My dear brother, in this life, I promise you'll live comfortably," Chen Luo vowed. Looking at the security guard, Su Daju, Chen Luo invited him to hang out after work. However, Su Daju declined, saying, "My mother told me not to get into bad habits. Also, beware of those who are overly courteous, as they might have ulterior motives." This left Chen Luo dumbfounded, recalling that in this timeline, he and Su Daju were not yet close friends. Yet, when the apocalypse begins and Su Daju is on duty, history will repeat itself, and they will become inseparable again. After entering his mansion with Thunder King, the grand fountain at the entrance made Thunder King a bit hesitant. Regardless of whether Thunder King understood him or not, Chen Luo laughed and said, "Thunder King, this will be your home from now on. Let's go. I'll give you a bath." While bathing Thunder King, Chen Luo began contemplating his plans for when the apocalypse erupts again. With this second chance at life, he didn't want to end up the sole survivor of humanity as he had previously. The chilling loneliness of that existence was unbearable. Perhaps he could establish an organization. He knew which individuals would develop powerful abilities in the future, which could complement his spatial ability, ill-suited for direct combat. But setting up an organization meant needing more resources, including stocking up on staple foods, fruits, seeds, generators, medications, and most crucially, water. Water sources would be contaminated after the apocalypse, and the only safe drinking water would come from rain. He suddenly realized he also needed to stock up on high-voltage electric batons, tools effective against the impending zombies due to their vulnerability to electricity. They might become obsolete after some time, but initially, they would be indispensable. As he was contemplating, Thunder King jolted at the mention of the electric batons. Chen Luo comforted the dog by petting its head, saying, "Why are you so scared? The batons are for the zombies, not for you." With that thought, he immediately took out his phone to place an order. Suddenly, a beautiful woman arrived at the entrance of the mansion. Chen Luo quickly welcomed her in. She was the culinary teacher he had hired for a hefty sum of 100,000 a month. With the unpredictability of the upcoming apocalypse, Chen Luo didn't just want to stock up on supplies. He also wanted to be able to cook delectable meals. However, things didn't go as planned. Despite being coached by the talented Mayu, Chen Luo's culinary attempts were disastrous. Even the dog refused to eat the dark dishes he prepared. Thunder King, discontented, let out an indignant growl, as if to say, "What did I ever do to you, master? Why are you trying to poison me?" Chen Luo could only sigh in resignation, sending Mayu out of the mansion. Watching her retreating figure, he began to ponder. Mayu's culinary skills were indeed impressive, but since he hadn't known her in his previous life, he wasn't sure if she'd turn into a zombie when the apocalypse hits. It would be up to fate. If she remained human, he could consider hiring her as his personal chef. As he was about to close the door after Mayu's departure, Chen Luo's eyes lit up with recognition. Am I seeing this right? It's the sisters Mi Ling and Mi Li. In his previous life, after the onset of the apocalypse, both had risen to prominence due to their awakened abilities. The elder sister, Mi Ling, became the most prominent flame-powered individual, earning her the title Blood Red Rose Spirit Flame Princess. The younger, Mi Li, awakened a light-based ability and emerged as the top healer. Though Mi Li's combat abilities were limited, she wasn't a fighter but rather a support. Rumors had it she eventually gained the power of resurrection, an almost godlike ability. Chen Luo decided that no matter the cost, he had to bring these two sisters onto his side. However, approaching them now without a strategy would just make him look desperate. Chen Luo quickly called a private detective he had worked with previously, instructing him to gather information on the sisters within 3 days. Most crucially, he wanted to know their favorite foods. Whatever you love to eat, I'll stock up on. After all, the way to a woman's heart is through her stomach. In less than the given 3 days, the detective handed over the information. Mi Ling loved grapes, while Mi Li was fond of fish and particularly loved braised pig's trotters. Her favorite fruit was watermelon. Time flew, and it was now June 1st, with only a day left until the apocalypse. During this period, Chen Luo not only received the armor and electric batons he ordered online, but he also splurged on a heavy-duty truck, spending millions. Having prepared everything, and with just an hour to go before the apocalypse, Chen Luo called his uncle, offering the 10 billion tons of supplies he had amassed as collateral. He requested a loan of 500 million. Chen Jianan, puzzled, asked, "Why do you need so much money so urgently?" Chen Luo, making up a story, responded, "From my observations, Bitcoin is about to surge. It might even increase tenfold or eightfold. My 500 million could turn into 5 billion. I promise to repay you with interest. Uncle, please wait for me at home. I'll come over and discuss it in person. I also miss brother Fei, so let's invite him over as well." Without hesitation, Chen Jianan agreed. Such a significant matter can't be discussed over the phone, and I can't just lend out money casually. I need to investigate first. After ending the call, a cold look appeared on Chen Luo's face. "You were supposed to die on the day of the apocalypse," he muttered. Passing by the security booth, Chen Luo looked at the security guard, Su Daju, pondering for a moment before deciding to warn him. "Su Daju, I have a bad feeling that something significant is about to happen. Please be cautious around 9 o'clock. Su Daju, taken aback, nodded in acknowledgement. Inside the Chen mansion, Chen Jianan, sipping his tea, remarked to Chen Fei, "Kid Chen Luo wants to invest in Bitcoin. Isn't he fearless? Though Bitcoin initially cost only a few cents and has now risen to over 60,000 apiece, I can tell you it doesn't have any real value. It's just a game of making quick bucks, but this deal might still be worth considering. First, we need to verify if the goods Chen Luo has are truly worth $1 billion. That's why I asked him to discuss it face to face." No sooner had he finished speaking than the doorbell rang. Opening the door, Chen Fei warmly greeted and embraced Chen Luo, leaving Chen Luo feeling a bit overwhelmed. They then began to chat over breakfast, with Chen Luo continuously boasting about how profitable investing in Bitcoin could be. However, by 9:15 a.m., a painful scream echoed from the maid's room. Chen Jianan instructed his son to check out what happened. Chen Luo, with gleaming eyes, knew the apocalypse had arrived. "It seems you two really are destined to die today," he thought, standing up to join the investigation. Upon reaching the maid's room, Chen Fei was horrified by the sight that greeted him as he opened the door. The middle-aged maid, with disheveled hair, was bleeding from all orifices, blood streaking down her face. Seeing Chen Fei at the door, she growled and lunged at him. Chen Fei, recovering quickly, was about to shut the door to trap the now zombified maid inside, but a hand stopped him. "Cousin, didn't we come to see what's happening? How can we see if you close the door?" Speaking, Chen Luo pulled out an electric baton from his special ability space and pressed it against the back of Chen Fei's neck. Instantly, Chen Fei's body convulsed a few times before he passed out. Looking at the unconscious Chen Fei, Chen Luo swung the door open. The zombified maid inside lunged directly at Chen Fei, gnawing at him viciously. At that moment, alerted by the noise, Chen Jianan rushed in and yelled in rage, "Chen Luo, what are you doing?" But Chen Luo ignored him, swiftly turning around and extending the electric baton towards Chen Jianan. As Chen Jianan instinctively tried to block it, Chen Luo sneered, "Did you think you're insulating and immune to electricity, trying to block an electric baton with your hand?" Chen Luo coldly watched his cousin, who was being bitten by the zombie maid, struggle and shout, "Chen Luo, Dad, save me." Chen Luo retorted, "Stop shouting. I don't consider you my bastard son. Your father is lying right there." Saying this, Chen Luo kicked away the hand that Chen Fei was trying to reach out to him with. As Chen Fei started to curse, he was interrupted by the zombie maid. Watching this bloody scene with an expressionless face, Chen Luo remarked, "Such a thrilling spectacle shouldn't be for my eyes only. Uncle, wake up." With that, he zapped Chen Jianan with the electric baton. Chen Jianan groggily woke up to the horrifying sight of his son's plight and pleaded, "Chen Luo, Chen Fei is your own cousin. Please save him. I admit I secretly sabotaged your shares, but Chen Fei knew nothing. He's innocent." Chen Luo coldly snorted, "What else have you done to betray me?" This remark made Chen Jianan internally panic. Does Chen Luo know about that incident? Seeing Chen Jianan's silence, Chen Luo gripped his throat. "Uncle, have you decided how to answer? Your son won't last much longer." With Chen Fei's breath growing weaker and his cries fading, Chen Jianan roared, "Chen Luo, save Chen Fei now and I might choose not to call the police. Otherwise, you won't escape this." Unbeknownst to Chen Jianan, the apocalypse had already begun. He merely thought the maid had contracted a horrifying disease, or that Chen Luo had drugged her. "You heartless beast, planning to kill your own uncle and cousin. You're worse than a dog." In response, Chen Luo slapped him across the face. "The truly heartless one is you. My father introduced you to the Chen Corporation out of kindness, and you betrayed him. How dare you speak those words?" By this time, the zombified maid had already bitten through Chen Fei's neck. Chen Jianan completely lost it, roaring in resentment, "I am his older brother. I contributed so much to his success. In return, he gave me only only 10% of the shares. Is he treating me like a beggar? He deserved to die. And with today's technology, there's no way you can escape. Chen Luo's eyes turned cold. Considering the share value at that time, 10% was worth 1.5 billion. Which employee gets a 1.5 billion share? You truly are an insatiable ingrate. With that, he threw Chen Jianan towards the zombified maid. Father, you truly let the wolf into the house back then. As for your son, this is all I can do for you. After the zombies finished off the father and son, Chen Luo adjusted the voltage of his electric baton to its highest setting and struck the zombie. Accompanied by the sizzling sound of electricity, the zombified maid screamed a few times before becoming motionless. Following this, Chen Luo took out a dagger from his space and stabbed it into the zombie's forehead, retrieving a small crystal. After the outbreak of the apocalypse, both special ability users and zombies would grow a crystal in their foreheads. The size and color of these crystals would vary based on the power type and strength. Fire ability users or zombies had red crystals, wind ability users had green, and space ability users or zombies had transparent crystals. When Thunder King had awakened, his electric ability had produced a purple crystal. The zombified maid's crystal was pale white, indicating she was of the lowest level and had yet to evolve any special abilities. After storing the crystal, Chen Luo went outside the villa intending to bring in Thunder King, but as he stepped out, a female zombie lunged at him. Chen Luo smirked, extending his electric baton towards the young zombie. With a zapping sound, she fell motionless to the ground. Chen Luo commented, "This baton really comes in handy. Since Uncle granted you freedom, it's not too much to ask for a little reward, right?" Saying so, he retrieved a crystal from the young zombie's forehead. Thunder King, who had witnessed everything, was dumbstruck. "Master, how can you be so ruthless?" Seeing his pitiable state, Chen Luo chuckled, "Thunder King, I reckon our awakening time is near. It's not safe outside during the awakening. Come inside with me, and we'll set out once the awakening is over." After letting Thunder King out of the car and into the villa, Thunder King, seeing so many corpses for the first time, was quite frightened. He shivered and pressed close to Chen Luo. Meanwhile, Chen Luo casually peeled an apple. Just as he was about to take a bite, a yellow electric arc flashed over Thunder King's black fur. Chen Luo, standing close to Thunder King, got shocked. The apple that hadn't reached his mouth fell to the ground. He was both surprised and elated. So Thunder King has awakened his ability. And yet, the first one he shocked was me? Chen Luo quickly stepped away to avoid getting shocked again. Electric arcs kept flashing over Thunder King's body, and pain was evident on his face. After about 10 seconds of pain, Thunder King returned to his normal state, collapsing powerlessly on the ground. Chen Luo looked at Thunder King with a hint of envy. The strength of an ability talent is mainly determined by two factors. First is the awakening time, the earlier, the more potent. Second is the speed of ability growth. The faster it grows, the stronger it becomes. Thunder King is clearly top tier in the electricity ability. He must also have developed his intelligence a second time. Chen Luo muttered to himself, "It's frustrating when a dog outdoes a human." Just then, Chen Luo felt a sharp pain in his head, as if something was forming inside. A smile unconsciously appeared on his face. "Seems I'm not so bad either." Feeling the spatial ability inside him, Chen Luo stretched out his hand and guided the force of space to his palm. The next second, he opened his eyes wide and swung his hand. The force of space slammed into the wall, leaving a crack of several inches. Thunder King, watching from the side, had eyes as big and round as saucers. Chen Luo sighed. That one spatial ball attack had used up a quarter of his ability energy, yet its offensive power wasn't enough to even instantly kill the weakest of zombies. "It seems I need to absorb crystals to level up." Chen Luo immediately took out the two crystals he had just acquired and held them tightly, beginning to absorb their energy. In this apocalyptic world, ability users were ranked from levels 1 to 10. Above level 10 was king level. In his previous life, both Thunder King and Spirit Flame Princess were at king level. He himself was also at king level, but after absorbing Thunder King's crystal in that past life, he ascended from king level to another unknown level. He wasn't sure what that level was, because, later, he couldn't bear the loneliness and chose to end his life. 5 minutes later, Chen Luo had completely absorbed the power of the two crystals. Feeling the size of the crystal in his mind, he estimated that he would ascend to a level 2 ability user after absorbing around 20 more crystals. Having absorbed the crystals, Chen Luo stretched his body and began teaching Thunder King how to control his newfound abilities. As expected, after listening to Chen Luo, Thunder King tried and spat out a bolt of lightning from his mouth, electrifying and damaging the opposite wall. Chen Luo, ecstatic, patted Thunder King on the head, praising him. "Good dog, you catch on fast. Let's head to the cold storage and gather supplies." As they were about to leave, Chen Luo spotted a high-end supermarket spanning over 200 square meters and decided to stop. "Look at the size of this supermarket, Thunder King. It must be packed with supplies. We should take everything and not leave anything for those wandering zombies inside." Thunder King barked in agreement. Chen Luo then put on armor and took 2 baseball bats. Heading confidently towards the supermarket entrance, he reminded Thunder King, "Attack when you can and avoid direct confrontations." items. Use agility to dodge them. I don't really need you, but this will be a good training for you. Thunder King nodded like a human would. As they approached, Chenluo dispatched 2 zombies with his bats. Thunder King barked and shot out a bolt of lightning but missed. Seemingly confused, Chenluo chuckled. It's okay. Distract them for me. Thunder King, understanding, lured the zombies away. Zombies were slower than normal people, let alone Thunder King, who was extremely fast. Although Thunder King could easily outrun them, he deliberately drew their attention to help Chenluo get into the supermarket without distraction. Once inside, Chenluo marveled at the high-end items in the store, as expected from a supermarket next to a villa. Everything's so premium. I won't hold back then. He then summoned the power of space and, in an instant, stored all the items. Before leaving, he extracted the crystals from the brains of the fallen zombies. Outside, he stretched and thought, it's great having spatial abilities, shopping without spending a dime. Thunder King, on the other hand, was struggling. One of the 2 zombies he had distracted was dead, but the other was still chasing him. Thunder King was wondering why he couldn't deal with the zombies as easily as his master could. Chenluo stepped in and dispatched the remaining zombie with his electrified bat, then comforted Thunder King by patting his head. Don't be sad. You did great. With more time, you'll be the strongest dog. Thunder King's eyes sparkled with happiness. Leaving the villa area, Chenluo chose to take a less traveled route to the cold storage. As they waited at a red light, a speeding yellow car pulled up next to them. A young man leaned out of the window, anxiously asking, do you know what's happening? I can't get through to the police. Chenluo calmly replied, obviously, the apocalypse has begun. The young man was horrified and drenched in sweat. Desperately, he asked, can we team up? It's better to have someone to rely on. Chenluo coldly declined and sped away, leaving the young man behind. While Chenluo did plan to gather a group, he was selective. He wouldn't recruit just anyone, only the elite. At this stage, ordinary survivors have some use if they obey, but a few years later, they could only serve as cannon fodder. Even though I have a lot of resources right now, they are not infinite. I must be cautious. After all, in the apocalypse, people's intentions are unpredictable. As soon as Chenluo turned into a narrow path and drove a few dozen meters, he frowned. The road ahead was blocked by a runaway truck. There were also more than 20 zombies nearby, and this was the only road leading to the cold storage. Taking a detour would be too time-consuming. It seems I have to deal with them. As soon as he got out of the car, the 2 nearest zombies rushed at him. Chenluo casually smiled, pulling out 2 electric batons. With the sound of electricity, the 2 zombies fell dead, but he was soon surrounded by zombies. Yet, he remained calm, facing the zombies attacking him, and knowing the electric baton could only zap 2 at once. After dealing with the 2 zombies ambushing him, a zombie managed to bite his armor. However, the armor protected him and caused no harm. Chenluo swung his electric baton, sending the zombie flying. This armor is made of alloy. There's no way you low-level zombies can break it. Chenluo grinned. There's no one to fix your teeth in the apocalypse. Be careful, or you might lose them all and can only rely on licking. Saying this, he charged into the horde with his electric baton, but as soon as he entered, he found that the baton ran out of power. This made him slightly embarrassed. At the critical moment, Chenluo took out another baton from his space, easily killing all the zombies. He then extracted the crystals from inside them, signaling Thunder King to come over. Thunder King was puzzled. Weren't they headed to the cold storage? Where were they going now? Soon, Chenluo found the heavy truck he had parked here earlier. He excitedly told Thunder King, this truck is even more amazing than the armor and electric baton. I kept it here just for today. Get in. I'll show you something that will blow your mind. Driving a truck is nothing like driving a car. The thick steering wheel and massive body give a sense of security. Chenluo, a bit unaccustomed, drove the truck to the cold storage. The electronic doors outside the cold storage were closed. He didn't care. He stepped on the accelerator, smashing the door open. Chenluo really enjoyed the feeling of destruction, while Thunder King, in the passenger seat, was shocked with wide eyes. The roar of the truck, combined with the noise of the door breaking, immediately attracted a large number of zombies. They rushed towards Chenluo. Chenluo smiled and sped up, crushing the hundreds of zombies, which would be slow and power-consuming with the electric baton. At this moment, on the rooftop of the cold storage, 3 survivors were cautiously observing Chenluo. They were all employees of the cold storage, 2 men and a woman. Zhang Meng excitedly said, let's ask him to take us with him. Gu Tao sneered, why would he take risks for strangers? I think this driver is ruthless. Otherwise, he wouldn't have done what he just did. I guess he knows about the supplies in our cold storage. He'll take what he wants and leave, and won't care about you at all. It's better to rely on oneself. Let's just snatch his truck. It's most reliable when it's in our own hands. At this point, Zhang Meng suddenly noticed the armor on Chenluo. Gu Tao and Tong Yuanhang looked over immediately, and they were all shocked. If we can get his equipment, we'll be safe. What do you 2 think? Yes, let's rob him. This kid is trying to steal supplies from the cold storage. We can't tolerate that. Zhang Meng hesitated for a moment, but then agreed. Gu Tao smiled and said, Zhang Meng, use your charm to distract him. Tong Yuanhang, you and I will take him down. At this moment, Chenluo was extracting extracting crystals from the zombies. Zhang Meng suddenly appeared in front of him. "Hello, thank you for saving us." Chenluo squinted at him, thinking, are they going to ask me to take them away next? If I refuse, they'll resort to force. Without rushing, Chenluo asked, "Are you the only ones here?" "Yes, only the three of us survived." Chenluo suddenly became wary as Gu Tao and Tong Yuanhang began to approach him from both sides. Sure enough, the next second, both Gu Tao and Tong Yuanhang made their move, each pressing down on one of Chenluo's shoulders. Chenluo sneered internally, "I haven't even made a move yet, but you guys are taking the initiative. You just thanked me for saving you, and now you turn on me so quickly?" With his hands on Chenluo's shoulders, Gu Tao couldn't help but feel triumphant. "Bro, don't resist. Don't worry, we won't hurt you. Indeed, kindness is the least valuable and most harmful thing in the apocalypse." Seeing this scene, a fierce expression instantly appeared on the dog's face. Gu Tao and the others were taken aback. There's actually a dog. It was getting dark, so they hadn't seen clearly. Chenluo, seizing the moment they were distracted by Thunder King, pulled out 2 electric batons from his space and shocked the 2 individuals. "Now, I'm not worried about exposing my spatial ability. After all, the dead can't talk. Rule number 1 of survival in the apocalypse: strike first." After Chenluo dealt with the 2 survivors with ulterior motives, Zhang Meng was completely shocked by the turn of events and screamed in terror as she saw Chenluo approaching with the baton. "Don't kill me! Help!" With that, she turned and ran toward the door. Given the life and death urgency, she ran surprisingly fast, and armored Chenluo found it challenging to catch up. "You sure run fast. Thunder King, it's up to you." Upon receiving the command, Thunder King rushed and struck Zhang Meng from behind, knocking her down face first. Chenluo then finished him off. Looking at the 3 bodies, he suddenly laughed. "So, it's always best to make the first move." After dealing with the hostile survivors, Chenluo, along with Thunder King, began raiding the place frantically. Every piece of meat, seafood, or seasoning, anything edible, was stashed into his space. 2 hours later, Chenluo finally stored all the supplies into his special space. This haul amounted to almost 60,000 tons of supplies. Chenluo, quite content, headed back loaded with goods. "Let's go home and rest for today. I'll continue raiding the granary later. I wonder how Sudaju is doing." Chenluo hummed a tune as he headed for his villa. Just then, a man suddenly dashed out in front, waving to stop the vehicle. "Sir, please help. Give me a lift." Chenluo looked at him expressionlessly. The guy was hiding something under his clothes, most likely another person with ill intentions. "My survival rule is to never let any threat emerge, no matter how insignificant. I simply won't allow it. There's no way I'm stopping. If you dare to block my way, I really won't hesitate to run you over." Seeing the truck showing no signs of slowing down, the man quickly stepped aside. As the truck was about to speed away after passing him, the man yelled at the truck, "Do you want to kill me? Wait and see. If I get a chance, I'll make you pay." Hearing this, Chenluo's expression darkened, and he immediately stopped the truck. There was no doubt in his mind about the man's words. If given the opportunity and capability, he would surely seek revenge in the future. After all, harboring grudges in a post-apocalyptic world could be deadly. "Thunder King, did you hear what he said? He said he wants to eat dog meat." Thunder King looked puzzled. Although it couldn't understand all human words, it was certain he didn't mention dog meat. Seeing Chenluo stop, the man menacingly approached, brandishing a wooden stick. Thunder King promptly jumped off the truck, catching the man off guard, yet he remained undeterred. With a cold laugh, he boasted, "Watch my dog-beating technique." As he was about to strike Thunder King's head with the stick, contempt flashed in Thunder King's eyes. "I have magic. Did you really think I'd engage in hand-to-hand combat with you, whether or not you want to eat dog meat? If my master says you die, then you must die." It opened its mouth, sending a bolt of lightning at the man. Caught off guard, the man was hit. A scream echoed, and he collapsed. Chenluo peered out and commented, "Finish him off, but don't use the lightning power, Thunder King. Any hesitation in battle can cost you your life. Only by adapting to this apocalyptic environment can one survive." Thunder King hesitated for a moment, but under Chenluo's gaze, it bit down on the man's throat with its sharp teeth. After Thunder King took care of the man, Chenluo and Thunder King returned to the villa area. The roads inside the villa complex were too narrow for the truck to navigate, so Chenluo had Thunder King disembark first to attract nearby zombies. Upon receiving the order, Thunder King barked twice and left the truck. It would be just a matter of time before Thunder King could leave, and the zombies would return. Then, they would serve as my free vehicle security, ensuring no other survivors would approach, trying to steal or damage the truck. Chenluo walked to the entrance of the villa area and saw that among the 2 security guard zombies, Sudaju was not there. He sighed in relief. "Fortunately, my rebirth didn't affect the turn of events." He took out an electric baton in and effortlessly dealt with the few zombies he encountered. Chenluo began searching for Sudaju. I remember when the apocalypse broke out, Sudaju fled to the inner part of the villa area to hide. Sadly, I can't recall which villa Sudaju hid in, only that it was in the outer region. Seems like I'll have to use the most basic method. So Chenluo, holding his electric baton, shouted loudly, "Sudaju, where are you?" Thunder King, who had just returned, widened its eyes in astonishment. Has the master gone mad? Shouting like this would attract zombies. At that moment, Sudaju, inside one of the villas, heard Chenluo's voice. He wanted to go out to meet Chenluo, but was stopped by a girl next to him. "Brother Sudaju, don't go. That man must be crazy. Isn't he afraid of attracting zombies? He can endanger himself, but he must not endanger us." This comment shocked Sudaju. Indeed, it's strange. Why would Brochin use such a dangerous method to find me? Our relationship isn't that deep. However, Sudaju was still touched. He went to the window and, sure enough, saw Chenluo. The quiet, refined girl also came over. Coincidentally, a zombie was lured over, but Chenluo calmly electrocuted it. The girl was taken aback upon seeing this. Such a powerful electric baton. If I had this for self-defense, I wouldn't be afraid of zombies. No wonder this man is so brave. Then, Sudaju leaned out and shouted at Chenluo, "Brochin, I'm here." Chenluo spotted Sudaju and a smile involuntarily crept onto his face. "Good buddy, glad you're safe." But when he saw the demure and delicate girl, Chenluo's expression darkened. "How could I forget this bitch Chenjing? In my past life, she dragged both me and Sudaju down. She's very scheming. In the past, when we ran out of purified water and were afraid tap water might be risky, she used Sudaju as a guinea pig. After Sudaju and I teamed up, she was always trying to cozy up to both of us. Even when distributing food, she would always hide a portion first, then pretend to be starving and pitiful, deceiving Sudaju out of his share, making a fool out of him." Remembering all this, Chenluo was filled with rage, wishing he could slap Chenjing to death right then and there. But he soon calmed down. Now was not the time to kill Chenjing. Killing her directly would only alienate Sudaju, driving a wedge between us. "Sudaju, come with me to my place. It's better if we look out for each other." Sudaju nodded in agreement. At that moment, Chenjing hurriedly approached. "Big brother Chen, my name is Chenjing. We share the same surname. Perhaps 500 years ago, we were from the same family." However, Chenluo completely ignored Chenjing and took Sudaju towards his villa. This made Chenjing grind her teeth, suppressing her discontentment, yet she followed them with a cheerful face. It seems she needs to improve her relationship with Chenluo. Having two men protect her maximizes her chances of waiting for national rescue. Looking at the two hungry individuals, Chenluo walked to the fridge. Apart from 3 pieces of bread, he transferred everything else into a special space. Immediately after, Chenluo gave a sly smile, staring intently at Thunder King, and slapped a piece of bread onto Thunder King's behind, preparing to add some special seasoning to the bread. Then, Chenluo, holding 2 plates, walked over to them. "This is all we have at home. Make do with it." Sudaju hesitated. "Brochen, you should keep it for yourself." Chenluo replied, "It's okay. When we get the chance, we'll get some food from the supermarket." After that, Chenluo looked at Chenjing and said, "You're a woman, and you eat less. Giving you 1 piece isn't unfair, right?" With Chenjing's character, she wouldn't voice any objections outwardly, but inwardly, she felt dissatisfied. Yet, she also thought Chenluo had a point. After all, Sudaju needs to eat well so he has the strength to find food for her. Thinking of this, Chenjing didn't hesitate and stuffed the entire slice of bread into her mouth. As soon as she tasted it, Chenjing's expression suddenly changed. "There's something off about the taste of this bread." Beside her, Thunder King looked at Chenjing with a horrified expression. "You dared to eat bread that touched my butt?" Witnessing this, Chenluo had a faint smile on his face, but deep inside, he was immensely pleased. "It's an honor for you to taste the flavor of Thunder King's behind. However, I still need to get rid of Chenjing soon. Otherwise, many things will be inconvenient." With that thought, Chenluo said gravely, "There are zombies everywhere now, and food is scarce. We need to find a way to get more supplies from the supermarket at the entrance." Sudaju confidently responded, "Brochen, you just focus on zapping with that electric baton. As long as I'm alive, no zombie will harm you." Chenluo, however, shook his head, rejecting this idea. The baton, when fully charged, can only kill 4 zombies, and there are far more than that near the supermarket. "I have a better plan." Saying this, Chenluo pointed at Chenjing. "Little sister, you're petite and presumably fast. You distract the zombies, while Sudaju and I get the supplies from the supermarket. Then, we'll regroup back home." This left Chenjing dumbfounded. "Me, distract the zombies? Isn't that just asking for death?" Facing her pitiable look, Chenluo said emotionlessly, "Alright, I'll distract the zombies. You and Sudaju get the supplies. Is that okay?" Hearing this, Chen Jing replied with a whiny voice. Bro Chen, it's not that I don't want to. I've only had the slice of bread you gave me since morning. I fear I might not have the strength and end up being a burden. This made Chen Luo slightly irritated. What can you do then? You can't just sit around doing nothing and let Su Daju and me take all the risks while you reap the benefits. Chen Jing didn't expect Chen Luo to have no chivalry and not to be a gentleman. Shouldn't taking care of women be a given? She could only look pitifully at Su Daju, hoping he would speak up in her defense. Before she could, Chen Luo coughed deliberately. I haven't had any water since morning and my throat feels parched. It's my fault for not stocking up on bottled water. I'm not sure if the tap water is contaminated. Why don't you, Chen Jing, try it for me? If you do, I won't make you go. This made Chen Jing furious. You want to use me as a guinea pig? I've been so worried about the water being contaminated that I haven't dared to drink any. I do have a bottle in my backpack, but with Su Daju around, I was hesitant to drink it. What if he asked me to share? I've been holding back, and I'm about to die of thirst. Just then, her eyes fell on Thunder King beside her, and she exclaimed with a sudden realization. That's it. We can let him try the tap water to see if it's drinkable. This made Thunder King stare at Chen Jing in bewilderment. I may not be human, but you're truly heartless. Using me as a test subject? Damn, I want to bite you. In his rage, Thunder King lunged at Chen Jing, only to be blocked by her backpack. Yet, in the scuffle, he tore a hole in it, and all the snacks and water inside spilled out. Seeing a backpack full of treats, Chen Luo laughed. So that's why she's been guarding this old backpack. She was hiding snacks. She probably planned to enjoy them secretly after getting rid of us. Disgusted by her actions, Chen Luo thought, I won't tolerate this deception. He then pierced a drink with a straw and handed a snack to Su Daju. You must still be hungry. Take this. Once you're full, we'll get the supplies. This time, Su Daju didn't hesitate. He took it without a word, then shot a disdainful glance at Chen Jing. This morning, I risked my life multiple times to rescue her, and yet, she lied about not having food when she clearly did. She obviously didn't want to share. I won't be courteous with someone like that. Realizing what was happening, Chen Jing rushed forward shouting, Don't eat that. It's mine. Give it back. Seeing her approach, Chen Luo swiftly stuck out a leg, tripping her. As she fell to the ground, she began to sob. You two men, picking on a small girl like me. What kind of men are you? Chen Luo sneered at her. Why don't you ask the zombies if they care whether you're a man or a woman? But just this little glimpse of your true nature isn't enough for Su Daju to truly grasp human behavior. I need to give Chen Jing a harsher lesson. Soon enough, he formed a plan in his mind. So Chen Luo stepped forward to console Chen Jing. Why are you crying? We need to eat to have the strength to search for supplies, right? You don't need to go this time. We'll repay you double for the food we eat. Hearing this, Chen Jing realized, no matter what, it wouldn't benefit her to confront Chen Luo and Su Daju. Turning against them would only push her deeper into danger, and if she died, she'd have nowhere to plead her case. Thinking of this, she quickly apologized to both of them. I was wrong. I have this instinct because I was traumatized by hunger as a child. I know my attitude isn't right. I'm sorry. It's just my natural reaction. Then, Chen Jing spun a story about her difficult childhood. Even Chen Luo had to admire her for making up such a tale on the spot. Su Daju, let's rest for an hour, then head to the supermarket nearby. I'll prepare some things. You two do as you please. Su Daju nodded in agreement. I'll follow your lead, Bro Chen. Chen Luo then pretended to gather supplies, but in reality, he summoned Thunder King, asking him to lure a dozen or so zombies home. Thunder King stared in disbelief. Master, you're joking, right? I understand luring zombies, but bringing them into the house? I don't get it. Chen Luo gave Thunder King a sidelong glance. Don't ask too much. Once we return, you'll understand. With that, Thunder King set off on his mission. Subsequently, Chen Luo took out 4 garlic bulbs from his special space, minced them, and placed them in 2 bowls, then brought them outside. The pungent smell made Su Daju puzzled. Bro Chen, why are you preparing so much garlic juice? Hearing this, Chen Luo explained with a smile. You might not know. When I was outside earlier, I happened to see someone wearing a string of garlic. Zombies seemed to be terrified of it and kept backing away. Chen Jing's eyes lit up. In movies, garlic does indeed work against zombies. Noticing this, Chen Luo became elated. Good, they've taken the bait. Unfortunately, reality is the exact opposite of movies. The pungent smell of garlic might severely attract zombies. It's a pity we only have this much garlic at home, enough for just 2 people. We should check the supermarket to see if we can find more garlic. Just then, a horde of zombie roars came from the distance. Clearly, it wasn't just 1 or 2 of them. The noise turned Chen Jing's face pale, while Chen Luo looked grim. Facing this incoming horde of zombies, will you choose to face them with us, or will you try to take this life-saving garlic juice? In the face of dozens of zombies rushing towards the villa, bitch Chen Jing, desperate to survive, doused herself with the garlic juice first. This stunned Su Daju, who had intended to share his portion with her. Although he had grown to dislike Chen Jing, he wouldn't stand by and let her die, but he never expected her to be so selfish. Seeing this, Chen Luo couldn't help but laugh. See, Su Daju, after the apocalypse, don't be so kind to just anyone. Some people are no longer deserving of such kindness. Realizing she had been duped again, Chen Jing Jing questioned. But why? Chenluo, you also poured garlic on yourself. Chenluo smirked. I didn't deceive you. You chose to pour the garlic on yourself. Let me tell you the truth. Zombies are incredibly sensitive to the smell of garlic. You're doomed. Hearing this, Chen Jing broke down. Why are you doing this to me? I just want to live. Is that wrong? It's not wrong, but it is wrong to continuously bully an innocent person, especially when that person is my brother. In your words, we all want to live. Is sacrificing you really so wrong? After saying this, Chenluo had no further interest in wasting words with Chen Jing. He took out a suit of armor from his special space and gave it to Su Daju. Anyway, Chen Jing would be dead soon, and the dead don't spill secrets. And for Su Daju, Chenluo would tell him about his awakened power of space. At this moment, Chen Jing finally understood where Chenluo's confidence came from when he poured garlic on himself. Su Daju, find a room to hide in. Right now, you'll only be a burden to me, Chenluo advised. Su Daju agreed, knowing that with that kind of armor, zombies couldn't harm Chenluo. He would indeed only slow him down. Meanwhile, Chen Jing also wanted to find a room to hide. He immediately looked pleadingly at Chenluo. Bro Chen, give me a break. After this, you can do whatever you want to me. Chenluo coldly snorted. I want you dead. Once you're dead, I'll have given you a break. Chenluo, what have I ever done to offend you? You've been targeting me since we first met. Chen Jing broke down completely. In no time, he was mauled by a wave of zombies. 10 minutes later, looking at the devastation and bloodstains, Chenluo felt a sense of despair. I miscalculated. My home, where I've lived for over a decade, is ruined. Emerging from a room, Su Daju looked complexly at Chen Jing's corpse. Chenluo didn't say much, motioning Su Daju to move all the zombie bodies out of the villa. They then cleaned up all the corpses. Seeing the bloodstains everywhere, Chenluo really didn't feel like cleaning up. It would be great to have a maid right now, he mused, recalling the cook he had hired. Mayu was quite good, not only pleasant to look at, but also efficient at work. However, I don't know if she's alive or dead. Looking at the floor stained red with blood gave Chenluo a headache. He didn't want to mop it up himself, but he also felt embarrassed to let Su Daju do the dirty work. With that thought, he turned his gaze to Thunder King. Chenluo fetched a few cloths and a bucket, teaching Thunder King how to pour water and wring the cloths. Thunder King, this important task is yours. You can eat after you're done cleaning. After speaking, without checking if Thunder King was willing, he threw the cloth to Thunder King. This left Thunder King stunned on the spot. Master, you're really something. At this moment, Su Daju popped his head out and suggested, Bro Chen, should we go to the supermarket and get some stuff? Chenluo waved his hand dismissively. There's no rush for the little stuff at the nearby supermarket. I have something better. Come, let's go upstairs and have a drink. As Chenluo took out a full table of food from his special space, Su Daju's face was filled with shock. This is way too incredible. It just appeared out of nowhere. Bro Chen, how did you do it? Chenluo chuckled as he explained. Su Daju, have you felt any changes in your body? In the morning, I had a brief headache, but afterwards, I felt much stronger. I experienced these changes before the apocalypse. If your change is related to strength, mine is about space. I found that I could control a bit of spatial power. I had a feeling that a disaster would occur, so I stored some supplies. Hearing Chenluo's explanation, Su Daju nodded with a semblance of understanding. Immediately after, Chenluo poured a beer for Su Daju. I also had a premonition that we'd become brothers. Come on, let's not worry about it. Nothing's bigger than enjoying a meal. Looking at the full table of dishes, Su Daju swallowed hard. There's too much food, Bro Chen. We can't finish it all. Let's save some. 2 or 3 dishes are enough. Chenluo responded grandly. It's okay. If we can't finish, there's still Thunder King. He hasn't eaten yet. Thunder King, who was currently mopping the floor, didn't seem to mind. Leftovers are fine. During my wandering days, I was grateful just to get some leftover scraps. Thank you, master. But seriously, is mopping the kind of task a dog should be doing? After a satisfying meal, Chenluo took out a zombie crystal from his space and handed it to Su Daju. Full, right? These crystals are for you. Try absorbing their power. They can rapidly enhance your strength. Su Daju curiously asked, where did these come from? Chenluo smiled and explained that they were extracted from the brains of zombies. Su Daju immediately looked disgusted. That's kind of gross. Come on, let's go to the room and absorb the crystals together. If it gets too intense, stop immediately. That night, Chenluo lay in bed, holding a crystal and started absorbing its energy. Strange. Based on my experience from my previous life, absorbing 8 crystals at a time should be enough. Why have I absorbed 20 now? When he absorbed the 21st crystal, Chenluo felt a sudden pain in his head. Immediately after, he discovered he had leveled up. I remember it took me a full 14 days to level up in my past life. Now, I've reached level 2 on the first day of the apocalypse. I feel like I can continue absorbing. I wonder what my absorption limit is this time. It wasn't until he absorbed the 40 40-second crystal that Chenluo stopped. Feeling the power within him, he tried to conjure the Sword of Void. Though it dissipated in less than 5 seconds, Chenluo was satisfied. In his previous life, he only mastered the Sword of Void's ability at level 7 and the Void Walk at level 9. Given his current progress, he might master it by level 4, and the Dimensional Blade, which he could only control at the king level in the future, might be developed earlier. It was his most potent weapon for assassinations and surprise attacks. With these thoughts, Chenluo quickly fell asleep. The next morning, Chenluo asked Su Daju and Thunder King about their crystal absorption experiences. Su Daju excitedly replied, "Bro, your method really works. I feel much stronger. I absorbed about 7 crystals." 7? That's already quite impressive. Meanwhile, Thunder King barked 9 times in a row, indicating he had consumed 9 crystals. Chenluo laughed. Thank goodness it wasn't 99. Otherwise, you'd have to bark 99 times. Su Daju looked at Thunder King in astonishment. This dog is truly remarkable. He's consumed more than me. Don't underestimate Thunder King. He's very talented. As he spoke, Chenluo took out an electric baton and armor from his space. Try this armor on. After breakfast, accompany me to the granary. The two, along with the dog, soon arrived at the truck they had parked earlier. Seeing the truck unharmed, Chenluo smiled. Free guarding works well. Bro, there are so many zombies. Should we take them out? Asked Su Daju. Chenluo stopped him. These are free laborers. Let Thunder King divert them. Thunder King then skillfully drew all the zombies away, making it look easy. This left Su Daju somewhat frustrated. Why do I feel Thunder King is more useful than me? Chenluo chuckled. Don't compare yourself to a dog. There are things he can do that even I can't. Everyone has their strengths. Bro, what can't you do that he can? He might eat poop, would you? Chenluo teased. Thunder King, upon hearing this, barked in protest, clearly indicating, "Master, you're slandering me. I don't eat poop." Once Thunder King got into the truck, Chenluo headed towards the granary. Strangely, it was eerily silent. I made such a ruckus, and not a single survivor has called out for help. Bro, don't granaries usually have large basements? Maybe the people are hiding there and didn't hear us, suggested Su Daju. Considering Su Daju's words, Chenluo got out of the truck and approached the pathway to the basement. Using their flashlights, they illuminated the path. Chenluo's eyes widened in shock. Not far from them lay the skeletal remains of a human. Normal zombies wouldn't clean the bones so thoroughly when they feed. They always leave some remnants. Only mutated creatures like ants or rats would clean bones to this extent. I don't know if it's ants or rats, but both are communal creatures. There must be a staggering number of them. Chenluo hesitated for a moment. If they encountered a massive number of those creatures, he wasn't sure they'd come out on top. We can't take the risk. Our lives are the most important. Just as he decided to retreat, a series of squeaking sounds echoed from below. Chenluo's face turned pale. Without any hesitation, he grabbed Su Daju and started running. That sound was unmistakably a swarm of rats. Thunder King, upon seeing a mass of shadows rushing out from the basement, was startled and sprinted away. Among the swarm, a mutated rat king hesitated for a split second as it gazed at the fleeing Thunder King. Deciding that human flesh was more delectable, it commanded the rat horde to pursue Chenluo and Su Daju. Just as Chenluo reached the granary's entrance, the rat king lunged and hit him squarely on his back. With a loud thud, pain seared through Chenluo's spine, and he uncontrollably toppled forward. Ignoring the pain, he quickly scrambled to his feet, but that slight delay allowed the rats to catch up. Looking back, they were horrified to see hundreds of rats, each one significantly larger than a regular rat, swarming towards them. Without hesitation, Chenluo pulled out his electric baton and dispatched a few of the rats lunging at him. Both Chenluo and Su Daju stood back to back to prevent any sneaky attacks from the rat swarm. Fortunately, the electric baton was effective against them. However, the idle rat king was a concerning sight for Chenluo. It was a mutant. In this post-apocalyptic world, while every being, be it a survivor, zombie, or mutated creature, grew stronger gradually, some rare mutants drew upon their life potential, boosting their power at the expense of their lifespan. These mutants were incredibly unlucky to encounter. The present Rat King was obviously such a mutant. There's no way it could have grown this large in just 2 days. Suddenly, the Rat King launched a surprise attack, knocking Su Daju to the ground. In the face of danger, Su Daju managed to jab the electric baton into the Rat King, but to his horror, barely affected the creature, which merely winced in pain. It lunged at Su Daju, biting hard onto his armor, producing a cracking sound. The sturdy armor now bore a deep crack. One more bite, and it would breach the armor entirely, causing Su Daju to break into a cold sweat. In a swift move, Chenluo pulled out 2 chunks of pork from his space and threw them to the ground. The surrounding rats were instantly distracted by the meat. Seizing this chance, Chenluo approached the Rat King. He couldn't help but think if he hadn't leveled up the previous night, they'd have been doomed for sure. As Chenluo charged forward, the Rat King's eyes flashed with disdain. It wondered whether Chenluo would electrocute it first or if it would bite Chenluo to death first. Little did it know, while Chenluo openly held the electric baton in his left hand, he had conjured a sword of void in his hidden right hand. The Rat King, about to deliver a fatal bite to Sudaju, suddenly sensed a looming threat of death. Turning its head, its eyes widened in shock upon seeing Chenluo, and it tried to flee. However, it was too close to escape. In a swift motion, Chenluo slashed its throat with the sword and then extracted a crystal from the Rat King's forehead. Sudaju, I think its two front teeth might make useful weapons. I don't have the strength. Can you try prying them out? After much effort, Sudaju managed to retrieve the two large teeth. Good, let's head to the basement. With the rat swarm dealt with, it should be safe now. Even if zombies entered, the rats would have attacked them. Upon entering the basement, Sudaju's face registered shock as Chenluo stored all the supplies into his spatial ability. Bro, how big is your spatial ability? It's not that big, probably around the size of this granary. He then turned to Sudaju with a serious look. Sudaju, you must never speak of how much I've hoarded. No matter who asks, you can't say a word. In these end times, we can't trust anyone. Sudaju nodded solemnly. Don't worry, bro. I won't say a word, even if it kills me. Upon their return to the villa, Chenluo recognized that his strength wasn't enough. Today's encounter at the granary was a close call due to the mutant Rat King. He planned to level up to rank 3 at home. Given my current rate of absorbing crystals, it'll take over 3 days to reach the 3rd rank. Sudaju, if you're bored, you can play some single-player games upstairs. After their meal, Chenluo turned to Thunder King with a smile, hinting that dishwashing duty was now his responsibility. This left Thunder King, the dog, utterly speechless. From mopping and cleaning to now washing dishes, he thought, Master, can't you act like a human for once? You're even more demanding than a dog. Chenluo looked at Thunder King, who had just finished washing the dishes, and said, Thunder King, if I recall correctly, you leveled up to the 2nd rank yesterday, didn't you? Hearing this, Thunder King excitedly barked in affirmation, as if to say, yes, Master, I'm awesome. But what Chenluo said next dampened his enthusiasm. As the saying goes, a good dog needs to be polished to become talented. Why don't you go find some zombies to practice on and see if you can develop some new electrical skills? Dejected, Thunder King began to walk towards the door. Just as he was about to exit, Chenluo suddenly called out to him. Thunder King, hopeful, turned around, thinking that maybe his master had changed his mind or was concerned about his safety. However, Chenluo simply handed him 2 bags of trash, asking him to dispose of them on his way out. Alright, I overthought it. Thunder King seemed to lament, Master, you really don't treat a dog like a dog, do you? Watching Thunder King depart, Chenluo sighed. He's so high maintenance. When will he clean up and dispose of trash on his own? That's when he'll be a mature dog. I seriously need someone like Mayu to take care of daily chores. Once I level up to rank 3, I'll go find her immediately. With that in mind, Chenluo eagerly returned to his room to absorb the zombie crystals. As a wave of pain washed over him, Chenluo successfully advanced to a rank 3 power user. In my past life, it took me 1.5 months to break through. Now, it's only been 3 days, he marveled. He could feel the enhanced power within him. Compared to when he was at rank 2, his energy was significantly higher. Most importantly, the Void Sword, which previously lasted only 5 seconds, could now be sustained for 20 seconds. Now I can confidently go outside. It's the perfect time to search for Mayu and restock on crystals at that 5-star hotel. The next day, Chenluo, Sudaju, and Thunder King set out. In no time, the trio cleared the zombies surrounding the hotel and extracted the crystals from the zombies' brains. At that moment, a survivor from the hotel named Lu Wenba, seeing the duo's formidable fighting skills, rushed to seek their help. However, Chenluo didn't immediately respond but instead asked, Do you know Mayu? Lu Wenba trembled and replied, On the day of the disaster, there was a business meeting in the morning and she was called to prepare dishes for it. Chenluo then grabbed Lu Wenba, instructing him to lead the way. Meanwhile, inside the cold storage, Mayu had kindly saved a group of people, but instead of showing gratitude, they not only complained that she took up too much space but also physically assaulted her. A famous actress named Lin Ear even suggested to throw her out to feed the zombies so that they could have more resources to survive. Hearing this, the others quickly showed their true colors and unanimously agreed. Ignoring Mayu's desperate pleas, they forcefully threw her out, even going as far as mocking her and calling her derogatory names. In utter disbelief and filled with regret, Mayu wished she hadn't opened the door for these people. I should have let the zombies eat them and stayed safe inside the cold storage. I'm so angry. I would pay any price to see them get what they deserve, she thought. However, she believed it was too late. 2 zombies detected Mayu's scent and roared, rushing toward her. As the zombies approached, Mayu closed her eyes in despair, thinking about the saying, in the face of the apocalypse, the true nature of humans is unpredictable. Just as the situation seemed dire, Chenluo arrived in the nick of time, kicking a zombie away with force. Chenluo Chenluo looked at Mayu with immense relief, saying, "Thank goodness the chef is still alive. Now I can have some good food." "Mayu, it's me, Chenluo. I came all the way here, risking my life to save you. Tell me you're moved and that you'll become my dedicated chef." Tears welled up in Mayu's eyes as she replied, "Thank you for coming to save me." Suddenly, Chenluo put his hand over her mouth, signaling her to keep quiet. "Let's deal with these zombies first, then we can catch up," he whispered. They were now surrounded by dozens of zombies. Chenluo and Su Daju, armed with electric batons, swiftly dispatched the nearby undead. Meanwhile, the ungrateful group inside the cold storage, upon seeing this, rejoiced, thinking that someone had come to rescue them. People began to emerge from the cold storage, trying to ingratiate themselves with Chenluo. "Thank you, heroes, for saving us," one exclaimed. "Hello, I'm Linear. It's great to meet you both." She assumed that if they were her die-hard fans, they would fawn over her like a dog. However, she was mistaken. Chenluo completely ignored them, heading straight to Mayu and helping her up. "Tell me what happened. I'll handle it for you." Noticing that Mayu was the only one outside the cold storage and nearly became zombie food, it wasn't hard for Chenluo to guess that something shady had taken place. Hearing Chenluo's words, all the pent-up grief and injustice Mayu felt came flooding out. She tearfully recounted the betrayal and the events leading up to her near-death experience. Chenluo responded with a cold laugh. "That's why it's not always good to be the good person. I only came to save Mayu because she has value. If you have no value, who cares whether you live or die?" Upon realizing that Chenluo and Mayu knew each other, Li Lin, one of the group, quickly tried to offer money to smooth over the incident. "Young man, could you escort me home? After the crisis is resolved, you can work at my company with a monthly salary of 200,000, he proposed. This enraged Su Daju, who was standing nearby. He loathed such ungrateful, double-dealing individuals. First, they got saved by someone else, then they tried to send that person to their death. Now, they want to use money to settle the issue, he thought. In his anger, Su Daju slapped Li Lin across the face. Lu Wenba, another survivor, watched in shock. In their city, Li Lin was a well-known figure. Weren't they afraid of retaliation? Suppressing his anger and covering his bruised face, Li Lin humbly pleaded, "Young man, you've already avenged your friend. It's true, we were in the wrong. Just get us to a safe place. Name any condition you have." Chenluo dismissed Li Lin's plea with disdain. He was a man of principles. Once someone became his enemy and there was an opportunity to get rid of them, he wouldn't hesitate. These people had been sentenced to death in his mind. With this thought, Chenluo took a rope out of thin air. "Since you've offended someone close to me, I can forgive you once by tying you up. Whether you survive or not will depend on your luck." Li Lin was infuriated by this. "How is this different from killing us? Is there no law and order left in your eyes?" Su Daju sneered at the side. "Did you think of that when you threw her outside?" The female celebrity, in a desperate attempt to save herself, knelt in front of Chenluo, begging for her life. "If you save me, I'll do anything for you," she cried, attempting to pull down Chenluo's trousers, implying a lewd favor. This left Chenluo utterly speechless. "What's wrong with you? Why are you trying to undress someone just like that? Get away from me, you're disgusting," she responded defensively. "It's not my fault. I haven't showered in days, so of course I'm a bit dirty. You can help me clean up." Chenluo, tired of her nonsense, promptly used a smelly sock to gag her mouth. "Let's go, let them fend for themselves." He then headed out of the hotel with Su Daju. Lu Wenba hurriedly followed, calling out, "Big brother, I want to come with you." Chenluo turned to look at him, picking up an iron rod from the ground and handing it to him. "If you can go to the main street and kill 10 zombies, I'll let you come with me." The mere thought made Lu Wenba break into a cold sweat, shaking his head in fear. Chenluo scoffed, "You're as useless as mud that can't be molded. When given a chance, you don't seize it." Before leaving, as a token of appreciation to the waiter who guided the way, Chenluo took him to a small supermarket next to the hotel. He gave him 3 minutes to shop freely, and then promised to escort him back to his dormitory as a thank you. As Lu Wenba excitedly filled his cart with supplies in the supermarket, Chenluo turned to Mayu and offered, "I'm in need of someone to handle logistics. How about you join us? Your only responsibilities would be cooking and washing dishes. In exchange, I guarantee your safety and you'll be well fed. To be a bit boastful, meeting me is the luckiest thing to happen in your life. So, what's your answer? Would you like to come with me?" "I'm willing," Mayu replied promptly, nodding. After all, if it weren't for Chenluo, she would have already been dead. Chenluo, pleased with the response, said, "Once we've escorted that young man back, we should celebrate with a grand meal, but you'll be cooking." After safely dropping Lu Wenba back to his dorm, half an hour later, reached their villa. Upon their arrival, Chenluo asked Mayu about her newly awakened power. He then introduced his own power, as well as Su Daju's. Mayu pondered for a moment, remembering a headache she'd had on the 3rd day of the apocalypse. She hadn't paid much attention to it at the time, but Chenluo guided her to tap into that newfound strength. A second later, a flame appeared in Mayu's hand. Chenluo was astounded. A flame ability in a chef could make dishes even more delectable. "We've truly found a treasure." In just half an hour, Chenluo and Su Daju found themselves drooling over a lavish spread of food. After taking a bite, tears of joy streamed down Chenluo's face, confirming that seeking out Mayu had been been the right decision. After the meal, Chenluo led Mayu to her room, reminding her to be cautious if she decided to take a bath, specifically warning against drinking untreated water. He handed Mayu a cell phone and a power bank to pass the time, informing her that they would stay put for the next few days to focus on enhancing their abilities. Chenluo promised to explain the upgrade method later. 3 days passed, and Chenluo managed to advance to level 3 of his power. Based on his progression rate, he estimated that it would take about 10 more days to reach level 4. It was time to go out and gather more crystals to further enhance his abilities. Simultaneously, he thought of checking on Mi Ling and Mi Li, the two sisters. Even though it might not be the right time to recruit them, he believed it would be good to see how they were doing. After all, it's a resurrection technique. Not having such a powerful individual under one's control would be inviting divine retribution. Before setting out, Chenluo gave a strict warning to Mayu. While we're gone, no matter who it is or what reason they give, don't open the door for anyone, even if they die right in front of you. Also, make sure to lock every door and window in the villa. Don't stick your head out or step outside, or you'll face the consequences. After giving his instructions, Chenluo and Su Daju headed to a nearby villa area and cleared out all the zombies in the vicinity. In a short span of time, they had collected over 500 zombie crystals. Seeing they had gathered a good amount, Chenluo stretched his body, preparing to head towards the apartment where the sisters Mi Ling and Mi Li lived. Su Daju, head back to the armored truck and rest. I'll take Thunder King with me and scout around the area to ensure we haven't missed any stragglers. Soon after, Chenluo arrived at the apartment building where the sisters lived. If I remember correctly, they live in Unit 201 of this building. He then sent Thunder King up to sniff around and check if anyone was home. Thunder King barked joyfully, as if to say, this is what a dog is supposed to do. All the chores you had me doing before, like mopping the floor, washing dishes, and taking out the trash, were definitely not meant for a dog. Just as Thunder King was about to ascend the stairs, his remaining right ear twitched. He immediately crouched low, emitting a low growl from his throat. The next second, like a rabbit, he darted into a nearby bush. A white cat sprinted out from the bush at high speed. Even though cats are generally more agile than dogs, it didn't take long for Thunder King to catch up with this particular feline. Chenluo was taken aback by the scene unfolding before him. The cat was uninfected and beautiful. It'd be nice to take it back as a pet. Immediately, he called out to Thunder King, asking him not to harm the cat. Just as he spoke, Chenluo heard a voice, "Get this stupid dog off me." He stared at the cat in disbelief, realizing that it possessed the ability for telepathic communication. What an unexpected find. I must keep it. Thunder King, how could you be so rude? Let it go. Chenluo chided, though at the same time, he made sure to grab hold of the cat, fearing it might escape. Thunder King looked guilty, as if accepting all the blame. Once in Chenluo's grasp, the cat didn't struggle. It looked up at him with big, sky-blue eyes, and a voice echoed in Chenluo's mind. I didn't provoke or annoy it. Why did this dog just randomly bite me? So infuriating. Chenluo replied in agreement. Yes, so infuriating. Suddenly, the little cat seemed to sense the smell of dried fish on Chenluo. He was amazed by its ability, wondering how it knew. Was it instinct? I can give you dried fish to eat, and then you'll be my kitty. Just then, a voice from above shouted, let go of my Rice. Looking up, Chenluo was shocked to see that it was Mi Li. The cat, named Rice, belonged to her. He thought, how come I never saw this cat in my past life? The sisters never mentioned it. Mi Li came down the stairs, approaching Chenluo with her hand out, demanding, give Rice back to me. Mi Li quickly took the cat from Chenluo, holding it close. Observing this, Chenluo speculated, it seems the two sisters are not together right now. If Mi Ling were here, she would never have let Mi Li come down alone. Relieved, Mi Li, holding the cat, didn't want to linger outside any longer than necessary. She quickly thanked Chenluo and was about to leave when Rice started struggling in her arms. Let me go. He has dried fish. I want the dried fish. He's not a bad person if he has dried fish. Confused, Mi Li thought, what kind of weird logic is that? Rice, having escaped from Mi Li's grasp, looked pitifully at Chenluo. I haven't had dried fish in over a week. Can you give me some? Considering this, Chenluo thought it might be an opportunity to ally with Mi Li. His plan was to collaborate, as both Mi Ling and Mi Li weren't just pretty faces. One possessed a top-tier flame ability and the other a light power that could resurrect people. With that in mind, Chenluo smiled and picked up Rice. There's a supermarket nearby that should have dried fish. Should we go there? And perhaps we could team up to find supplies? Mi Li's initial reaction was to refuse. The idea of venturing out with two strangers seemed perilous. However, Rice convinced her, citing that he didn't sense any ill intent from Chenluo. This left Mi Li conflicted. Seeing her hesitation, Rice said with a huff, if you don't want to go, then don't. I'll go with him. You can wait at home for me to bring back food. Rice's words made Mi Li blush. For the past week, they had relied on Rice's small and agile frame to get supplies from outside. So, she agreed and told Chenluo to wait for her while she got her gear. In a moment, Mi Li returned, wearing a purple helmet and armed with a rolling pin. Seeing her unusual attire, Chenluo almost choked. He then introduced introduced his own companions. "This is my buddy, Sudaju. Think of him as a warrior. And this dog is also my partner, named Thunder King. He's an electric mage. You can call him Thunder King. I'm Chenluo, a spatial power user. What about you?" Upon hearing this, Meili replied, "You already know about Rice's ability to communicate with humans. I've also suddenly acquired a special power. I'm akin to a priest in video games." No sooner had she spoken than a group of zombies began to surround them. Chenluo quickly warned everyone to be cautious. Meili, who was at the back, initially panicked but soon regained her composure. She directly amplified the strength of both Chenluo and Sudaju. Feeling the surge of power within him, Chenluo was amazed. Truly, an incredibly rare light power. At level 1, she can amplify strength by a third. With Meili's boost, Sudaju began to dispatch the zombies effortlessly. However, a lone zombie rushed towards Meili. Chenluo shouted for her to get out of the way, but Meili stood her ground. After all, she had never fought a zombie before and felt this might be a good practice. The post-apocalyptic world requires one to adapt. Meili, faced with the oncoming zombie, quickly applied a strength boost to herself. Due to her lack of combat experience, she didn't dodge the zombie's attack. Its sharp claws aimed for her neck, but her thick jacket shielded her from the brunt of the strike. Without hesitating any longer, Meili began to wildly bash the zombie with her stick, causing its head to split open. Chenluo, who was nearby, felt a chill watching Meili ferociously bash the already dead zombie. Brain matter was splattering everywhere, but she kept smashing the creature's head. Snapping back to reality, Meili looked at the zombie whose head she had destroyed and couldn't help but vomit. Chenluo handed her a tissue and a bottle of mineral water. Meili gave him a grateful glance. Meanwhile, Rice looked quite annoyed and huffed. "Are you two done? Are we going to get that dried fish or not?" Half an hour later, after Chenluo had dealt with the zombies on the supermarket's second floor, he instructed Meili, "Grab as many supplies as you can." Rice had already found the dried fish snacks in the snack area, pleading with Chenluo to help open the packaging. Looking at the little cat, Chenluo began to ponder. He always felt that this cat had other secrets, not just an awakened psychic ability. After all, such a unique ability like mental communication isn't something a novice in psychic powers could master. With such a rare cat, he definitely needed to recruit it into his team. With this thought, Chenluo opened the dried fish and tempted Rice. "This fish isn't fresh. Eat sparingly. I have fresh fish. Come with me later, and I'll make you braised fish." Hearing this, Rice became excited. On the other side, Meili, who was gathering supplies, was completely unaware of a mutated zombie sneaking up behind her. Sensing the danger, Thunder King quickly yelled out a warning and rushed towards Meili. Hearing Thunder King's alarm, Meili instinctively turned around, her face turning pale with terror, collapsing to the ground. She saw a 2-meter-tall, obese zombie before her. Meili tried to flee but tripped over 2 large bags of food she had packed. Seeing this, the obese zombie smirked. "I'm so hungry, I'll eat you up." Meili scrambled up, without hesitation, hurled the 2 large bags of food at the zombie and turned to flee, only to run directly into the arriving Chenluo. At first glance of the obese zombie, Chenluo's pupils contracted. This was another mutated zombie, and more specifically, the most common type known as devourers. Not only do they possess great strength and defense, but they also can use body slam attacks and even self-detonate. Judging by its size, it must be a level 3 zombie. Thinking this, Chenluo pulled Meili behind him. "Stay behind me. Don't be afraid. I'm here." Hearing these words from Chenluo, Meili's racing heart miraculously began to calm. Looking at Chenluo shielding her, she felt an indescribable sense of security. Just then, Thunder King arrived in the nick of time, unleashing a bolt of lightning to ambush the obese zombie from behind. The ambushed zombie, infuriated, turned and roared at Thunder King. Seizing this opportunity, Chenluo brandished his sword of the void, slashing at the obese zombie. Accompanied by a cracking sound, the obese zombie was cleaved in two. It didn't even get the chance to use its self-detonation skill before falling apart on the ground. Chenluo quickly shielded Meili with his body, telling her to close her eyes and not look at the corpse. Hearing his voice, Meili involuntarily closed her eyes. At that moment, the only thing in her mind was the scene of Chenluo's sword swing earlier. He looked incredibly cool. She let Chenluo take her hand and lead her downstairs. When she opened her eyes again, Meili couldn't help but look at Chenluo, thinking, how did I never notice before how handsome brother Chenluo is? Chenluo looked at her, puzzled. As they gazed at each other for a moment, Meili's face inexplicably turned red. This caught Chenluo by surprise. He never expected that the appearance of the obese zombie would lead to a classic hero saves the damsel moment. Although it's a bit cliche, the effect was really good. Thinking of this, Chenluo decided to strike while the iron was hot, inviting Mi Li to join his team. Mi Li nodded with a blushing face. In that case, come to my house later, and we can all have dinner together. Hearing this, Mi Li felt a bit torn. She really wanted to go, but her sister had gone out to find supplies and hadn't come back yet. If her sister suddenly returned and couldn't find her, she'd be very worried. Brother Chenluo, I'll go after my sister returns. But as soon as she spoke, rice next to them showed its displeasure. You shouldn't refuse. After all, Chenluo promised to make me braised fish. No matter what, you have to come with me today. Didn't you leave a note at home? Mi Ling will see it and won't worry. Plus, I have a feeling Mi Ling won't come back today. I want to eat fish. Hearing Rice's words left Mi Li feeling a bit dizzy and overwhelmed. Having no choice, she reluctantly agreed.